Hello everyone, my name is Vito Gogola and I'm a filmmaker and I make movies together with my brother André to the right. We also have a guest, Hagob Manoukian, who we got to know as an actor for our previous film, Broken Swedish. You're also an architect. In this episode, we're actually going to talk about AI-generated art. And you're the one who actually has personal experience with that type of art. The reason why I actually want to talk about this in an episode is because you showed me a couple of sample images that was made by AI. Could you tell me a little bit, or tell the listeners a little bit about those images that you sent me?
There was like this YouTube clip that was like a montage, I think, of like basically someone tried to make pictures that looked like they were from this hypothetical Dark Souls
like
film.
Adaptation
Live, exactly.
The name of the YouTube clip that you're talking about was called like Dark Souls, which is a game for you guys who don't know that. Dark Souls as an 80s dark fantasy film. For you guys who've watched like a lot of 80s movies, they have a certain look about them.
Yeah, films like The Dark Crystal, Legend. There's another one with David Bowie. I think you can just...
oh yeah, right.
Yeah. Just, put it in there.
There it is.
Not only me, but a lot of people were amazed by how on point the aesthetic was, and as well how realistic it looked.
Right.
It's kind of astounding that it's a computer that has made this. But there are some things you can notice about it where you can kind of detect its fakeness.
Okay.
Much like, deep fakes.
Right.
Which also was very like, some people were like, oh yeah, this is really cool technology. And then you also had like alarmists who were like, yeah, but the world is gonna be destroyed as a result of this. We won't know who says what and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Why are politicians in all of Washington so concerned about deep fakes?
Well, what has people in the government really scared is that deep fakes can put words in people's mouths. Make people say things like vagina and poop. And then you've got senators going around saying vagina poop. But they didn't say vagina poop.
People aren't really talking about deep
No, it feels like it was kind of a fad, and now this is the new thing which people are gonna freak out about. Yeah.
Hagob, did you see the Dark Souls images?
No, I don't really. Well, first of all, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were gonna jump into them without me even saying hello. You made me sit there like a douchebag with these glasses. Sorry, audience.
Well,
no. This
stage is yours. Sorry.
Sorry. I just made it fun because you said architect, and we architects like we usually have this attire. I was gonna just make a joke about it.
Well, I think
just
they're
say
cool.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Not a douchebag. I brought some other ones. Just to test.
Yeah, they're cool too.
But I think I'm just gonna go with like...
Yeah. We got to know you when, like before you started studying. You were an actor in our film. And then from there on, you've kind of acted in stuff we've done. And you've also worked in like the camera department for another thing. Mm-hmm. You have also explored AI-generated art as a part of your architecture education, right?
I've dabbled in the arts.
Right.
The AI arts, but the thing is, it's not like I'm an expert regarding this topic, but it's fun. I mean, it's fun to see how much it escalated in just like 2 years.
Yeah, true. Just like you are making blueprints or artwork to sell an idea of a building, we also have concept artists who are selling the idea of a film. And when I saw these Dark Souls images, that was the first thing I thought of, was like, this is great like reference material or concept art for a film. And that's where I started thinking like, what's going to happen to like concept artists if this tool becomes even, more common? Let's say like movie studios, for example, they can make like, an image in like 2 minutes.
Yep.
That's like super cool.
Yeah.
Like, I just know how companies work, and if they find a technology that will make something super easier for them, and also cheaper, it's a very tough situation to be in if you're a concept artist.
Well, you said it yourself there. You called it a tool. Perhaps that's how you should look at it.
Right.
At least now, like a concept artist, you don't have to lose the concept artist because, okay, why are you choosing the concept artist? Is it because they just know how to draw, or they will also give you the life? They give images like life. You know, what if the concept artist used this tool? Just save him some time. He'll produce 15 more images, or maybe 200,
right?
Instead of just one. That's one side of the story.
Yeah.
Or the producer can be like, why don't I just do that? Yeah, but are you an artist, or do you think like a concept artist? I don't know every single AI software there is there, or tool, if you want to call it. But if you think about, like, you have to at least type something. In some of them, there is like you type prompts, and then just something pops up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. You have to write the things that are the creative part.
Right.
Maybe it's just taking doing the painting from you.
Yeah.
If you like painting, you could still paint. It doesn't stop you.
No.
Actually, it could save time. You have like another AI that is, I think, Chat GPT or whatever it's called.
Okay.
I think that one is like it's text based, so you could just ask it stuff.
Okay.
You could ask it to write a code for you. Me and my friends, we used it for like making up characters. Like, can you write me a character in 200 words? He should be like a doctor, and he should be a bit insane. He's a criminal.
Yeah.
And then he just writes a story about him. Not just in images. You can also make it in storytelling.
Right. Yeah.
Like sketches, or just something to start.
Yeah. So we have these like AI generated artworks, like images. They have also started making like videos. Meta has made their own like make a video tool.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually want to show you guys. I'm going to send it to you on Messenger.
Yeah, do it.
Let's see. So the prompt here, I think, was a confused grizzly bear in calculus class. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously in its
a GIF.
Infancy.
Yeah, in its infancy. It's not great, and I've seen other ones that are kind of scary even. Like it's I saw like a dog was running on a beach, and it looked like nightmare fuel.
Oh, but it's really cool, I guess.
But I don't know if you call that infancy, because the first ones I saw, it would generate, I think it was Wombo Dream or something. It was an app.
Yeah.
That's the first time I was like, I could just write anything.
Right, yeah.
And it just started like, boop. You could see how it's shaping it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it still looked very vague.
Yeah.
You could write like an eclipse or something.
Right.
You'd see something that resembles an eclipse, a solar eclipse.
Yeah.
But it's not, when you look at it, it's not really a solar eclipse. With this, you could clearly see it's a bear.
Yeah,
like, it has all the features of a bear, and even the heavy movement.
But you can also like notice that there's someone sitting in that classroom who's very like undefined in terms of proportions.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Like you get the idea. It's almost like a dream.
Yeah.
You know, unless you focus on it.
At first
kind
glance,
of
it's
adapts,
kind of
it kind of adapts to whether or not you focus on it.
Right, right.
And also like the bear's arms are very undefined too. Like it's kind of hard to see.
It looked like a bad Photoshop work, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it was jackpot for the most part.
But that's also why I think this could be a threat to concept artists in one sense, because you don't need the detail. You really just need the feel of something.
Yeah.
And that's the same with like AI generated art has other issues. Like I know you've mentioned that a couple of times to me before, Andre. Like sometimes they have like more than 10 fingers, like the people in the images.
Yeah, exactly. And but also like there's this picture of a crow or something.
Yeah, from the Dark Souls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when you look at it like at first glance, it looks pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
But you can see it has like 3 feet or whatever the fuck you call like claws.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And you don't notice it because it kind of like comes out of the tail from the hawk or crow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not anatomically correct.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. And but those things you can kind of adjust in Photoshop. So I'm not saying that, oh yeah, and that this means that you can't use it as concept art. I'm more just saying that, like with all things, there will always be small things which you can notice that kind of defines it as what it is, you know.
Right.
Kind of like with deep fakes, you know. It's very hard to do a deep fake where the person looks in profile.
Yeah.
Because then
or
you
has
have to,
their hands
exactly.
in front of their face or something.
Yeah, it always gets defined by its limits. Those kinds of
One thing that I've noticed is that their skin looks very plastic, like very like super smooth, almost like plastic. I saw like I think the video was called Memes, as an 80s dark fantasy film. And then I saw like the meme where when there's like a woman who like yells at a cat and then the cat sits there like smirking.
Yeah.
They redid that into some like 80s dark fantasy thing. It looked nothing like the meme in just the right way, you know?
Yeah.
But the cat, it had like 2 sets of teeth, like 2 rows of teeth. I don't think if that would have been a concept artist doing it, I don't know why he would make like double row teeth. It would have gone through like a human mind of like, we shouldn't have like 2 rows of teeth. Also in terms of text, I saw like Alien if Wes Anderson did it. And they also had like text and stuff written. And when you read the text, it didn't mean anything. It was just like gibberish. So that gets me to thinking that, you know, text still is something that AI generated artists, they're still struggling to like make that comprehensible.
I think for it's like, this is enough for a human to believe. But I mean, don't you do that in concept art as well? When you draw like trees, you're not really drawing a tree.
No, that's true.
It's like making something that the brain, that's a tree. I don't really need more information.
Right. But I do think like if it's at a distance and you can't really read something, that's more acceptable, I think. But like if you have like a big sign with, you know, it's supposed to say like shop or whatever, and it says like shp, like no, like that's it shouldn't be like that, you know. But I'm gonna test like a thought here because like previously in history we had like similar things. Like for example, movie posters way back were oftentimes illustrated or drawn. They weren't like photos, and I would assume that's partially because of aesthetical reasons they like that look, but also because the photography editing knowledge maybe wasn't as widespread as it is nowadays. But then also like there's a effects supervisor called Phil Tippett, and he was supposed to make the animation for Jurassic Park. And the initial idea was that they were going to make stop motion animation or use stop motion animation for the dinosaurs. At the same time, Industrial Light and Magic were also working on a CGI version, and they eventually showed that to Steven Spielberg, and he was like awestruck, like he wanted that to be in the film. And then like Phil Tippett, who was like, he had so much knowledge about stop motion animation, and you know, ever since Jurassic Park, no one uses stop motion anymore unless it's like for like aesthetical, maybe kitsch or nostalgic reasons. So he actually had to rethink, like, what am I supposed to do? And he even said, like, I'm going extinct or something because of his knowledge and, you know, something he's been working on for, like, several years. But then also, lastly, another example that I thought of was Richo Sakamoto, the guy who made the music for The Revenant.
Yeah.
He was in an interview when he was younger, and he said, like, something like, I think it's a good thing with synthesizers, because this time people who doesn't know how to play the piano can program melodies, and you can convert ideas into songs much faster. But also like playing something like he even demonstrated like a melody that pretty much would be impossible to make with like human hands, but with synthesizers it's possible. And again, this is another tool to make music. So that was a long introduction to my thought. Like, what do you guys think of? Do you think that this could actually be a tool to help concept artists? Like, instead of it being something that robs them of their work, they could actually use it in their work somehow. Like the idea of the concept artist will change, but it won't like disappear.
I do think like these AI pictures, they always have this kind of aesthetic to them. The humans tend to look a certain way. Like they're always like googly eyed, and it's a very like uncommon human face.
Yeah, very odd look.
And I feel like the good thing with real concept artists is that they all have a different style to them. But I guess you could make like a software which would program that. You know, it's very hard to speak in like hypotheticals, because really anything could happen in the future. The AI might have a harder time doing very specific types of concept art. Because right now, like it's, you know, you say something and then it just gives you a bunch of images, but you don't really have that back and forth which you have with a concept artist.
Just to test your argument, like what if then the work, instead of talking to a human, it would be just trying different prompts, like different texts?
I mean, for the Midjourney example is that you write a prompt, but then it gives you 4 versions, and for each version you could actually say like, okay, give me new versions of that one, or upscale that one. And with upscaling, it means like, scale up the image, but it gives it more detail.
Okay.
And then maybe you could ask it, upscale it again. And again, and then find the one that fits you best.
I could imagine that would be a way to work with AI, that you get like an image, and let's say you're like partially impressed, but there's something you want to change.
Yeah, small adjustments.
You could tell the tool maybe to like change these things instead of.
And maybe a tool will come that is more like it's
suitable.
This tool, like I mean, we have different tools in real life as well. Like even the software we use in our everyday lives, you have Premiere Pro for editing, you have Audition for the mixing sound or whatever. So they can have their roles as well. One is good at making eyes realistic, and it'll use the whatever from that one, making hairs realistic.
There was one that you made. That was, you made several ones that you sent.
Yeah.
But one was...
I didn't make anything, I think.
Well, I mean, you used the AI tool.
Yeah, okay.
Put it that way. You used DALL-E 2.
No, I never used that.
No, okay, which one was it in?
I used Midjourney.
Oh, Midjourney, which was part of like Discord or something. Like
it's weird. It's in Discord, like it's its own server on Discord, and then you have like different chat rooms, and then you write /prompt, and then it's like, okay, what do you want me to generate? Okay, basically.
Like you sent like four images or something, but I remember one where I think you wrote something like samurai goat epic cinematic or something.
Yeah.
And like the result was really cool. Like,
I like that. That's my favorite.
It's pretty funny to like envision that, because it's such a bizarre thing, like samurai goat. Like I don't even know. Like, but it became just that. It was a goat, it was a samurai, and it was really epic.
Yeah.
You have a lot of friends that have worked with this and people who studied that same school as you. And one of them, she used Hilma af Klint, the Swedish artist's work, together with AI. Like, what was the thing she did?
Her name is Rose Hallgren. It was really fascinating because she called it machine learning. She used the software, but she needed to feed it information or a data set.
Right.
In this case, 2D images you said Hilma af Klint's work.
Yeah.
But she tested like, I hope I'm remembering correctly now. She tested like the time it trained, the AI was training on the images, and the number of images she gave it. It was learning patterns.
Right.
And then predicting patterns. So you have the data set, it learns the patterns, like, oh, this is what it is, and then it has to create something, it has to predict.
Right.
So it creates something new. It's like, it's not really making a collage, it's training itself with all of the different types of people just using it daily, and it'll learn. I mean, do we also learn like that? Like we train regularly until we perfect something.
I know some people have made that case that it's kind of like, AI is learning the way we humans learn things. So you can't call it theft from like other artists. But then again, one could also argue that like humans don't like scan the way a computer scans for images. It's not like a problem-free comparison, comparing a computed with a human, those people would claim. So some of these tools have been accused of stealing artwork from others. Some time ago, it was really popular on Facebook to use, or maybe not on Facebook, but people took like an image of themselves and uploaded it to something called Lensa, I think. And this app or software, it created like 5 or so artworks in various styles. What I've read, I hope I'm not like misquoting, or I think that app used artwork from other artists, or I read something to that effect. Some artists are criticizing this and criticizing the fact that a tool can pretty much just take something that someone else has created and also have taken years to, a talent that they have honed throughout all of these years. And apps or softwares like Lensa also cost money, which then creates a question of like, you earn money from offering this AI service, which is based on the works from other people who are not getting paid for your use of their work.
Maybe in that case, I think I saw Marques Brownlee talk about this. He talks about it a lot. He talked about that Lensa thing, and he mentioned that in some cases you could see the signature of the artist.
Right.
In some of the images, it's just popping in. Yeah, of course. And like that's like that one's maybe more obvious what you should do, since you're taking money. Like, do you give them a share of each image? Of course, I think like if someone has used your art in any way, like you should at least get the credit, so you know where the source is and someone can look that up. But maybe the AI becomes a way of spreading your art faster. It maybe becomes smarter that each image even has like metadata. So you can maybe like hover over the images like, okay, where was this part?
Based on this artist's work.
If you use like a tool or like this much, like this is the brush size. This is the brush size of the image. You could just scroll around and you just go to this part, like, I like this part. Okay, where was this inspired from? These 3 artists. That could be something fun and good for the artist maybe. So that's a way I could see like maybe working around that problem.
Right.
But I just thought of that, so I don't know how well thought that is.
Usually as soon as money becomes involved, and usually that's the case too, because we've had kind of a similar thing with the selling of like personal information. In Europe we have this GDPR thing, where we have to like consent to the use of our personal information in a different way than I believe North America. I'm not sure, but something like that. Maybe AI generated art will have the same journey, that artists will be more in control of how their art is being used. But one could only hope. We're going to introduce Spiridon Giannakis, who is a designer and a publisher who has raised concern about the use of artists' works within these AI tools. And here is what he had to say.
Whenever I hear AI generated, I kind of cringe internally, because this is an image generator that is feeding from a database, and this is not far in the concept of artificial intelligence. It's not intelligent at all. It's essentially just, in my opinion, something like a more complex Excel sheet that tells you when, if. And what is generated with that is usually the construct of what has been fed before. There's a huge issue with the fact that it is easy to prompt something and add the name of an artist to closely resemble their style and copy their body of work, and essentially use the bits and pieces to create something new just based on a couple of words that someone has put in there. That alone is problematic. I'm not having a beef with the technology itself. I think actually it's very interesting if used in a different way, like if you train it on your own art and you want to see how far a machine can take it, and you can take it from there and maybe find inspiration in how it's done. But comparing AI as a machine that is inspired by another artist is by far not even close to the truth. This machine is not inspired by anything. It's not learning like a human is, and it's not interpreting. That's the most important part.
Could you describe a little bit these ethical aspects more in detail? Like, why could it be unethical to use these kind of tools?
It is unethical if the database is fed with art that has been scraped from the internet. If this entire model that you're working with, if it has been feeding on images that have been downloaded from the internet to be reused for something that is potentially also used in a commercial level, then that is problematic because obviously there's a problem with copyrights. From a creative standpoint, there can also be doubted if it's ethical to copy something that a human has made. There was this one issue where the famous artist Kim Jong-gi was copied from an AI that has been trained to spit out work that looks close to what he has been doing. And Jong-gi just passed in October, and a couple days later, someone created this AI with the argument of people being still able to enjoy his art, like if there wasn't enough from him. This has also been happening with many other artists who already have passed, and where maybe in some cases the issue of copyright is not there anymore, and still having this created from a machine leaves a weird taste in my mouth. Just from a legal standpoint, we see that people are right now, and companies are actually suing these companies that are creating these image generators. And the argument of people to say this is gatekeeping creativity and everything, I can't say it any different. It just makes me laugh as like a crazy person. If you think art is being gatekept, then just pick up a pencil and make some, and tell me if someone is holding you off from learning how to draw. The one thing that is being accessible is art, because you can always create something. Calling artists that barely being respected in an industry that is very much depending on artists, which is ironic, calling them gatekeepers and that they want to keep their fame and their money is absolutely ridiculous. Probably 90% of the artists I know are not being paid fair. There recently has been this video that has been going viral where people are discussing how VFX artists are being treated at Marvel, for example, that they're being underpaid and they work too much, and that the outsourcing studios are essentially competing with each other. I'm creating more for less money. And the issue with this is that it's showing that creative work is not appreciated as it should, because obviously if you take art away from our everyday life, you don't have anything to consume. Are you going to make your own shows on TV? Are you going to write your own books? I mean, you can, obviously, but still you decide to consume. All that stuff is there. Everything is being designed, even if it's UI or UX design. If you open an app, everything has been thought by a creative person. But the way that they're being treated as people that can be just switched out just makes it even more dangerous to combine that view with the fact that there is no limit to human greed. Using a machine and getting something out of it that is just good enough. It's not about if it's as good as something that a human created. It's more important that it's good enough for them. And you're seeing this already with publishers using AI-generated covers for their books. And that's something that I find, as a publisher and designer myself, I find this highly problematic, because obviously what it shows is that as long as people find something that is appealing to the buyer, they don't really care where it comes from. That is happening also in the concept art industry very much, I think. And there have been messages and stories, but also like firsthand stuff that I'm hearing from people working in these studios who are telling me, yes, we are being already advised to work more with AI. Because of course, AI started as something that was really interesting to create something like a texture for something. You need chainmail to create an armor or something. You can't find the right stock photo. Of course, you're just gonna try to generate something and that's done. Now we have gotten to a point, well, can you create the whole knight in the style of Greg Rutkowski? Well, I'm just typing it in there. There you go. It's close enough. The director knows what we need. Maybe you can tweak it, but there are very scary things that I'm seeing for generally artists who are living from their own art, that are not working at something for something or for a specific IP.
In Europe, we have this GDPR thing for browsing the internet. Do you think there will be a similar thing for artists? Do you think there could be like a potential to combat this issue through that or in any similar way?
It becomes uninteresting to exploit on a big scale if it is illegal. Obviously, there will always be people who do that, but if you can be prosecuted for that, then it doesn't become as attractive and like a mass product anymore. And depending on which country you are and how the laws are in your country, obviously, You might go to whatever IT companies are doing when they go to have their servers in Switzerland or Luxembourg, you know? They are avoiding certain things to surpass them. And there will always be these loopholes that will be used. But if it's not being made that easy, that's already a lot of protection that can happen just for any creative out there.
Do you think that AI-generated artwork tools like these can threaten the occupation of concept artists? Do you think it will be like erase that profession altogether? Do you think it's like that bad, or do you think it will be like minimized?
Every person that has decided to become an artist professionally, there has been this one moment where the first client believed in what you can do, or maybe even wanted to exploit you because you were cheap or whatever. Doesn't matter. There was this first client that you had and the first gig and the first really bad thing you did, but you got paid for, that you would do very different 10 years later looking back at it. These jobs might go away. These things where there was like some independent publisher who needed a book cover, they would just go to AI. Or maybe some board game folks will decide, okay, so we need 100 cards, but we cannot pay 100 artworks, so let's just generate a couple of things and have them maybe tweaked by an artist who can do that much cheaper instead of having 5 people doing that. Instead of having 20 people in a company, you might end up with having 5 who are tweaking something that has been put out by this image generator. And this is speculation, right? But I can tell you for a fact that there have been people being told after they left the company that they will be replaced by AI, by a generator. They are planning to do these things now with that. And there were people not being hired because they are not as good as AI. That's the claim. So this is already being real, and we are only a couple months in. Like, what is it now? 6 months, a year? I don't know. You can already see what has been happening when technology in this industry has been replacing certain parts of the process. For example, look at what 3D printers did to sculpting. And I think the same thing is about to happen here. It's only gonna impact us culturally worse if not being regulated. Which kid will decide to become an artist? We're sitting up there in this ivory tower thinking, we are creative people. This will never go away. There's no machine that can copy it. And this entire thing has started at the top with us right now. What if it goes down? What will it do with law, for example, or with medicine?
Could you see any sort of like positive aspects with these kind of tools?
There are aspects in the creation of something that are tedious. If you can get help from a machine to help you with these things so you can go faster about your creative aspects, maybe there is a way for this to be good. But when it's about generating something, I don't see why. There are enough people who do that. If it's too expensive, then the motivation is greed. How is that good? There's also this thing about stuff being created from an indie perspective. So if any indie publisher wants to create a board game and they are like, okay, so we cannot afford an artist to do all that, so we have to work with AI, because otherwise this thing would not be made. I find it hard to give an answer to some issue like that, because of course it would be much more beautiful if this is created. At the same time, it is a problem because the profession that would have, like the people who could have paid their rent with it, if you tried harder to make it happen and, I don't know, like start a Kickstarter campaign or go on GameFound or something to have it financed, or find someone like an investor, maybe that would have helped too. But you wouldn't even try because you had this other option. And my concern is not even with that. My concern is what the people are doing that can generate their own AI based on the content that they have, like big corporations. Obviously, that can be a problem, I find.
I'm thinking, do you guys think there will be a time in the future where we'll even talk about AI-generated music, for example? Or AI-generated movies, like entire movies? Mm-hmm. Or scripts, like let's say movie studios actually let an AI write the script, or maybe the first draft of a script. Do you guys think there will be a future like that?
100%. You might even already have that. AI generated music, I think I've even heard that.
Oh yeah?
I think there is. Like, you can hear like someone rap, but it's not really words. You might even find it on Spotify, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just double check that.
MC AI.
Some
MC Robot.
it is. I mean, it's a good melody. It's catchy. It works.
But it means jack shit.
Yeah, but that's the question. Does it have to mean something for us to appreciate it? Or does it have to come from a person? I'm going to continue and jump back to my friend Rose, that I was so fascinated when I saw her images of the translations of Hilma af Klint with the machine learning.
Right.
My brain was like, what? Like, this didn't exist, and it created it. A computer created it. I even bought 2 prints.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you bought 2 paintings.
2 paintings from it for my girlfriend. I was like, these look so good.
That's got to be like some sort of proof that it's something you can appreciate as much as art from human.
Yeah. But in that case, it felt like she actually did some hard work. She made it. She collected the data. She put it in this. She put them through a machine. But then something beautiful came out. And then I was like, but if you just say me like, yeah, I just wrote 4 words and created this, I'm like, okay, I don't want to buy a print. I'm not going to put money on that.
You mentioned something that you wanted to bring up as well.
Usually when you talk about like these things like AI and also like digital cameras and things like that, like I feel the argument is oftentimes like, well, in the future you can just shoot something on a digital camera and it will look like it's a film camera. And there's always this kind of narrative that's always saying like, yeah, well, a computer can kind of do it better. It's just a matter of time. And that might be true. But I would say that a lot of the filmmakers we're inspired by hold a totally contrary view. For example, Hayao Miyazaki and Quentin Tarantino. I do find it more interesting when I hear that there is a animated film that's cell animated or 2D animated. These old traditions of art, I mean, maybe there will be a smaller audience for it, but I'm much more interested in being part of that audience. Quentin Tarantino, he doesn't write on a computer. He writes by hand.
Right.
So a lot of these filmmakers that I kind of respect the most, really, they have a very archaic view on these things. And now I don't think the truth is that we shouldn't engage with the new software in any way. But I do think maybe sometimes people think that, I mean, it could be true that, you know, computers will do everything and like humans basically should just like write things for the computers to do. But I'm not in that camp. I think my main argument is that sometimes when you follow the narrative that you can always do it in a computer, it can actually kind of blind you. You can kind of be sloppy in your decision making because you think, well, computers can do everything. But really, there are some subtleties like between a real violin playing and a violin in a computer. There will always be those small nuances.
The imperfections.
Yeah, there will always be these nuances that could be imperfections that you can't get rid of, I think.
And also, just because it's new doesn't mean it's gonna survive.
Yeah.
Like new technology. You think like, oh, just because it's new, that means that this is what people are going to do in 200 years. But it could also be a fad, like something that was really popular now, but then it just dies out.
Yeah, it could be that too.
Name an animal.
Panda.
Name a type of food.
Steak.
Hagob, you're gonna help me to make an AI artwork using panda and steak.
Okay. So what did we say?
Panda, steak, and then I'll add Paris.
Panda, steak, Paris.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's cool. Looks
I like that one. Like
looks eerie. The panda is on the plate even.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Which one would you want to continue with, let's say?
I think the top right one is pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's like the Eiffel.
It's a good.
Tower.
Yeah. There are like small changes.
It's an interesting steak. It's like a hamburger.
Yeah.
Steak.
Yeah, hamburger lettuce.
But then you sell it panda eating a steak,
Yeah.
then
Right.
it'll only show when it's eating a steak, and then the more it's just right forever, I think. I don't know. I remember also reading a list of what jobs and the percentage of going extinct because of automation. I remember like, okay, architect, where's that on the list? And I read it's like 2%.
Okay.
Okay, that's a low number, right? I feel safe, but I mean, it's like, do you have to feel safe? Maybe I could embrace this. That I mean, in school also, like most of the time was drawings, the stuff when the ideas were finished. It takes a lot of time. Why not have more time for the thinking part and making something good? Maybe some jobs, maybe some jobs will lose them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so, but then a new job takes its place.
It's kind of hard to stop progress. You know, if there's a new invention, just telling people, no, don't do that. But it's more effective. Yeah, but you still shouldn't do that. It's like
convenience really leads the way in a lot of things, I think. And also touching on what you said about like how AI can help. These AI artworks, they are always based on things that already exist. And I think what we lose from that is kind of the innovation, something new. And yeah, of course, you could argue that there are no new ideas per se. It's just mixtures of different ideas to become something new. But the way I see it, at least at this point, there's a lack of innovation. And that's where I'm thinking of architectures, for example. In Brazil, there's a really famous architect called Oscar Niemeyer. His own touch on the buildings is kind of what makes his body of work. Could a machine really create like a body of work and a personal style in the same way? Or something truly creative, something that people didn't really see before, but then when it comes, it's the thing that we thought we didn't need, but then turns out we needed it. Like, for example, a smartphone. Well, I think that's a good place to end this. Thank you very much, Hagob, for coming to our podcast and talking about this with us. And thank you guys for listening. Leave a like and a comment, and make sure to subscribe if you like this episode. All right, take care, guys. See you.